Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 26, 2021. Today, I will go over college basketball, NBA, and NHL scores and look ahead to the games being played tonight. Then I'll do a segment that I've been doing the last couple weeks of what's next for the teams that were eliminated in the NFL playoffs. And only today, it's just the Packers and the Bills. And then I'm going to talk about Kobe Bryant a little bit since it's the 1-year anniversary of his passing today and my best bet of the day. All right, we'll start with college basketball. We'll go over the scores from yesterday's short window and look ahead to today's also another short window. So, without further ado, here we go. Radford over UNC Asheville, 73-63. Gardner-Webb over Charleston Southern, 80-71. Loyola Marymount over Portland, 75-50. New Mexico State over Western New Mexico, 70-41. Presbyterian over High Point, 71-56. Number 8, Virginia over Syracuse, 81-58. Northern Iowa over Co., 70-60. Indiana State over Southern Illinois, 69-66. Loyola Chicago over Bradley, 65-58. Prairie View over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 73-56. Number 11, West Virginia over number 10, Texas Tech, 88-87. UNLV over Utah State, 59-56. Oklahoma State over Iowa State, 81-60. Alabama State over Southern, 66-64. And Arizona over Arizona State, 80-67. Today's games, 1 o'clock, you have Tulsa and Temple. So a nice AAC matchup to start the day. My line is Tulsa 8.5, total 129.5. Meanwhile, FanDuel has this at Temple 1.5, total 127.5. I'm taking Tulsa plus the 1.5 and minus 108 straight up. It's minus 124 in terms of Tulsa plus 1.5's price. But I think Tulsa should be favored in this game. This is a terrible line. So give me Tulsa straight up. Plus 1.5 at minus 124 and minus 108. 5 o'clock, Southern Illinois and Indiana State. My line is Indiana State by 5, total 139. And it's not up yet on FanDuel or on ESPN. Central Michigan and Buffalo. My line is Buffalo 17, total 157.5. Meanwhile, it's Buffalo 13.5, total 164.5. I'm going to take the under. I don't feel good about it. But I'm going to say that it's an under 164.5 at minus 108. 6 o'clock, Richmond and St. Joe's. My line's Richmond 20, total 152. Whereas Richmond 10.5, total 153.5. I'm laying the 10.5 with Richmond at minus 118. Western Michigan and Ohio. My line is Ohio 14.5, total 145.5. Meanwhile, it's Ohio minus 13.5, total 141.5. I'm going to jump on the over here for a 4-point edge on the over. So I'm going over 141.5 at minus 106. 7 o'clock. A good game on ESPN2. Number 24, Oklahoma at number 5, Texas. My line is Texas 4.5, total 143. Meanwhile, it's Texas 4.5, total 142.5. So I have no choice but to take the over. Half-point edge, minus 114. So, and you know the world's going to be on Texas in this game. The world. But it's the correct line and the total's almost correct. So I have the slimmest of slimmest edges on the over. Half-point, minus 114. Kentucky, Alabama on ESPN. Number 9, Alabama, I should say. My line's Bama 5, total 144.5. Meanwhile, it is Bama 7.5, total 146.5. I don't like that. I have an edge on Kentucky, but I have to pull the trigger. Plus 7.5 and minus 105. Alabama, the case is that Alabama has just been rolling lately. And Kentucky, I know some people are banking on a turn of the corner, but I'm not personally from a results standpoint. This is, I think, the most disappointing season in John Calipari's tenure as Kentucky head coach. And I'm taking them to cover here, but they won't win this game. I just think that this game will be competitive. I think Cal will keep his team super competitive here. Mississippi State at number 18, Tennessee on the SEC network. My line is Tennessee 13, total 136.5. Meanwhile, it is Tennessee 9.5, total 128.5. So a 3.5 point edge on Tennessee. And the total, I have a big edge on a whopping 8 point edge. So I'm taking the over 128.5 at minus 112. Merrimack and Long Island, my line is LIU by 5, total 141. Meanwhile, no line on ESPN. And I don't see a line on FanDuel either. Next up, ESPNU, SMU Memphis. My line is SMU 2.5, total 139.5. Meanwhile, it's Memphis 1.5, total 141.5. I'm going to take SMU plus the 1.5 at minus 106 and plus 108 straight up here for the play. I just think that SMU is better than Memphis. Memphis has been disappointing all year, so give me SMU. Next up, you have North Carolina Pitt on the ACC network. My line is Carolina by 9, total 143. Meanwhile, it is Carolina 3.5, total 146.5. I'm going to lay to 3.5 with Carolina at minus 104. I think that is a good play. I know laying it with Duke is my best bet a couple weeks ago against Pitt. Came back to bite me in the ass. But I really love Carolina in this spot against Pitt. So give me Carolina minus 3.5 at minus 104. Fairleigh Dickinson in St. Francis, Pennsylvania. My line is Dickinson 2, total 145. Meanwhile, we don't have any liner totals yet. Toledo and Miami of Ohio. My line is Toledo 12, total 146. Meanwhile, Toledo 5.5, total 145.5. I'm laying the 5.5 with Toledo at minus 104. They're better than Miami of Ohio. It's just simple as that, and I have a huge edge on Toledo. Next up, Eastern Michigan against Akron at 7:30. My line is Akron 11.5, total 148.5. Meanwhile, it is Akron 10.5, total 139.5. I'm going to take the over 139.5 at a juice price at minus 115. Drake and Missouri State. My line is Drake 3.5, total 147. Meanwhile, it's Drake 4.5, total 144.5. So I have no choice but to take the over 144.5 here. SIU Edwardsville, Eastern Illinois. My line is Eastern Illinois 5.5, total 145.5. Meanwhile, it is Eastern Illinois 6.5, total 142.5. I have no choice but to take the over here. I think Eastern Illinois can put some points up on the board, and I don't trust either of these teams defensively. Dayton at number 22, St. Louis at 8:30. My line is St. Louis 4, total 140.5. St. Louis obviously making their return from quarantine. St. Louis is favored by 9.5, totals 135.5. I'm going to take Dayton plus 9.5 at minus 104. St. Louis, like I said, first came back from COVID. I expect them to be a little rusty, so I think Dayton will cover the point spread. Butler, UConn, 8:30, Fox Sports 1. My line is UConn 7, total 133.5. Meanwhile, UConn 5.5, total 124.5. I absolutely love the over here. I love this over just as much as the over I loved yesterday, which wound up hitting the Syracuse game against Virginia. So give me over 124.5 between Butler and UConn. 9 o'clock, ESPN2, number 12, Missouri at Auburn. My line is Missouri 6.5, total 145.5. Meanwhile, it is Missouri as a 2.5-point underdog, total 148.5. Wrong team's favored. I know this could be your classic case of the team that shouldn't be favored is favored for a reason. I'm not buying that here. I think Missouri is the better team, so give me Missouri plus 2.5 and plus 122 straight up. St. Martin's and Portland State we could skip. Southeast Missouri State and Tennessee Martin. My line is Missouri State or Southeast Missouri State by 1, total 145. Meanwhile, it's Southeast Missouri State 4.5, total 143.5. I'm going to take Tennessee Martin plus the 4.5 and minus 102. No, they won't win outright, but I just think that this game will be close. Georgia Tech Duke on ESPN. My line is Duke 5.5, total 148. Meanwhile, it's Duke 5.5, total 139.5. I'm taking the over. These two teams are better offensively than the number suggests. So give me over 139.5, although I do expect the Blue Devils to go out there and win. LSU Texas A&M on the SEC Network. My line is LSU 10.5, total 143. Meanwhile, it's LSU 5.5, total 140.5. I'm going to lay the 5.5 with LSU at minus 106. They're the better team. So give me LSU minus 5.5 against the Aggies of Texas A&M. Now we'll move on to the NBA. We will go over last night's big slate and look ahead to a small slate for tonight. Pistons over to 76ers, 119-104. Detroit 4-13. Philly 12-6. DeLon Wright, 28 points and 9 assists. Tobias Harris had 25 for Philadelphia. Pacers over to Raptors, 129-114. Pacers 10-7. Toronto 7-10. Malcolm Brogdon, just unbelievable, having a breakout year. He has to be in the conversation for most improved player. 36 points, 9 assists. And Fred VanVleet for the Raptors, 25 points and 6 assists. Magic over to Hornets, 117-108. Magic 8-10. Charlotte 7-10. Nikola Vucevic had 28 points and 12 boards and 7 assists. Gordon Hayward, 24 points and 4 assists. Nets over the Heat, 95-85 or 98-85. Brooklyn 11-8. Miami 6-10. Kevin Durant had 20 with 13 rebounds. Bam Adebayo had 26 and 10 and 5 assists. Lakers over to Cavaliers, 115-108. Lakers 14-4, Cleveland 8-9. LeBron James in his first game back in Cleveland this season, an only game in Cleveland this year. 46 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He's still the best player in basketball. I'm sorry. You can't debate me otherwise. And he's, to me, the front runner for the MVP, although odds on FanDuel or anywhere you shop would not suggest it. Andre Drummond, 25 points and 17 boards for Cleveland. Nuggets over to Mavericks, 117-113. The Nuggets are 10-7. Dallas is 8-9. Michael Porter Jr. had a great game, 30 points. And Luka Doncic was unbelievable, but not enough. 35 points, 11 boards, and 16 assists. Celtics over to Bulls, 119-103. The Celtics 10-6. Chicago 7-10. Jaylen Brown, 26 points for Boston. Zach LaVine had 30 for the Bulls. Warriors over the Timberwolves, 130-108. The Warriors are 9-8. Minnesota's 4-12. Stephen Curry, 36 points. Blew the way for Golden State. Naz Reid put up some numbers for Minnesota that were good, but their star of the game was Malik Beasley. 30 points, 7 boards, 4 from 9 for 3. Thunder over the Trailblazers, 125-122. Thunder 7-9, Portland 9-7. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 24 points and 9 boards and 6 assists for OKC. Damian Lillard, 26 points and 10 assists for Portland. Kings, Grizzlies, and Spurs, Pelicans postponed. Obviously, the Grizzlies having their COVID issues, and the Pelicans and Spurs both under the number of eligible players. So that's why that game got postponed. Only 3 games on the board tonight, 7:30 on NBA TV of the Clippers and the Hawks. Clippers will be shorthanded tonight. No Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George, and no Pat Beverly. But despite all that, I still have the Clippers projected as a 1-point favorite here at the total of 222.5. And FanDuel has Hawks 3.5. I'm taking the Clippers plus a 3.5 and plus 134 straight up. I know there's not a total yet, but I love the Clippers here. The Hawks, I think, are overvalued here. Trae Young might be the best player on the court here, but the Clippers still have some depth. So I'm going to take a shot here at the Clippers plus 3.5 and plus 134. 8 o'clock, Wizards, Rockets. My line is Wizards 4.5, total 231. Meanwhile, it's Rockets by 3. I'm taking the Wizards plus the 3 and plus 124. Best player on the court is Bradley Beal. So give me the Wizards plus the 3 and plus 124 straight up. And last but not least, the Knicks and the Jazz at 9 o'clock. My line is Utah 11.5 total, 212.5. Meanwhile, it's Utah 11 total, 213. So I have a half-point edge on the Jazz and a half-point edge on the under. More realistic, I'm going to say the under. The Knicks have been competitive in these games, so I think there's a better shot of them covering than the overhitting. The Jazz play good defense, and you know who else does? The New York Knicks. Do you know who's not good offensively? The New York Knicks. That ends up to an under for me. Under 213, minus 115 in the Knicks-Jazz game for tonight. Alrighty. Now we'll move on to the NHL. Only one game to talk about from last night. It was between the Canucks and the Senators. And the Canucks came out on top 7-1. An impressive win for Vancouver, who improves to 3-5 on the year. Ottawa won 4-1. The number 3 started the game with the goal, Ali Juolevi. Number 2 started the game with 35 saves on 36 shots, Thatcher Demko. And the number 1 started the game with a hat trick, Brandon Sutter. Probably his best game as a Vancouver Canuck. And he's been there for a couple of years now. Big slate tonight in hockey. Looking forward to it. 7 o'clock. You have a bunch of games going off. So this is the NHL's time to shine. Panthers, Blue Jackets. You got the Blue Jackets minus 122. Panthers plus 104 over under 5.5. Blue Jackets puck line minus 1.5 is plus 220. Panthers puck line plus 1.5 is minus 270. I'm going to take the over 5.5. Neither of these teams have elite goaltending per se. Obviously, Patrick Laine, first game as a Columbus Blue Jacket. I'm going to take the over 5.5 in Florida Columbus. I think that this could be a 4-2-3-4 type of game. NBCSN, the Islanders, Capitals. Islanders are minus 138, road favorites. Capitals plus 118, over under 5.5, overs even money. Unders minus 120. Islanders puck line minus 1.5 is plus 210. Caps puck line plus 1.5 is minus 255. Alex Ovechkin's still out due to the COVID issues. Islanders are playing well. I don't trust Washington's goaltending. Again, I'm going to go with another over at even money. Over 5.5 even money. Rangers, Sabres. Sabres slight home favorites, minus 112. Rangers are minus 104, over under 6.5. Overs plus 110, unders minus 130. Rangers puck line plus 1.5 is minus 300. Sabres puck line minus 1.5 is plus 245. I'm going to take the Rangers here, slight underdogs. They have to win this game. They had a disappointing weekend in Pittsburgh, going 0-1-1. Should have arguably won both games. They should really be 4-1 on the season. They should have, or 3-1. They should have, 4-1. They should have beat the Devils. They should have beat the Penguins twice, and the only game they should have lost was to the Islanders. I'm taking the Rangers minus 104. I trust whoever's in net for them over whomever Buffalo's trotting out there. So give me Rangers minus 104 straight up. Flyers, Devils. Flyers are minus 154. Devils plus 130, over under 5.5. Overs minus 120. Unders even money. Flyers puck line minus 1.5 is plus 184. Devils puck line plus 1.5 is minus 220. I'm going to go with the under 5.5 here. I think Carter Hart could have a bounce-back performance here. Mackenzie Blackwood's been out of his mind, too. I think this could be a 3-2 game. It's going to be under 5.5 at even money. Next up, you got the Penguins at the Bruins. Bruins minus 144 favorites. Penguins plus 122. Totals 5.5 overs, minus 120. Under is Even money. Penn's puck line plus 1.5 is minus 235. Bruins puck line minus 1.5 is plus 194. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh straight up at plus 122. They've just been lucky in these games. I know people are probably going to bet the Bruins. But I think the Pens are a little bit better than given credit for. Tristan Jarry had a good weekend against the Rangers. I know Tuukka Rask has played well at times this year, but I just think Boston's due for a loss. So give me Pittsburgh plus 122 straight up. 8 o'clock, Blackhawks, Predators. Preds are minus 188. Blackhawks plus 158. Over under 6.5. Over even money. Under minus 120. Minus 1.5 for the Preds is plus 142. Blackhawks plus 1.5 is minus 168. I'm going to take the over at even money. I don't trust either of these teams' goaltending situations. If it's Rene, I could see the Blackhawks scoring a couple goals, but it comes down to Malcolm Subban or whomever's in net for Chicago for me. So give me over 6.5 at even money. Oilers, Jets. Oilers minus 120, Jets plus 102, over under 6.5. Jets puck line plus 1.5 is minus 270. Oilers puck line minus 1.5 is plus 220. I'm going to take the over 6.5. I like going over in these North Division games, so I'm going to keep it going. So over 6.5 between the Oilers and the Jets. 8:30 Red Wings Stars. The Stars are minus 220. Red Wings plus 184. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 110. Unders minus 130. Stars puck line minus 1.5 is plus 134. Red Wings plus line plus 1.5 is minus 158. I'm going to take Dallas puck line minus 1.5 at plus 134. I think they're better than the Red Wings. And Dallas, I like what I saw these first couple games. So give me the Stars. Minus 1.5 at plus 134. 9 o'clock, Ducks, Coyotes. A good matchup to see where both of these teams are. Coyotes minus 142. Ducks plus 120. Over under 5.5 overs. Plus 105. Unders minus 125. Ducks plus line plus 1.5 at minus 245. And Coyotes puck line minus 1.5 is 2-1. Tough call here. I'm going to go with the road upset. I'm going to go with the Ducks, plus 120. I think the Ducks, I like Darcy Kemper, but I'm going to go with John Gibson and the Ducks at plus 120 straight up. Just want to throw out another moneyline underdog. Avalanche hosting the Sharks. Avalanche minus 245, Sharks 2-1. Over under 5.5 overs minus 135, unders plus 115. Sharks plus 1.5 is minus 136. Avs minus 1.5 is plus 116. I'm going to lay the puck with the Avs at minus 1.5 at plus 116. I just think they're better than the Sharks. I would like the over as well, but I think it's overpriced. We skipped the game between the Kings and the Wild. The Wild are minus 160. That would make the Kings plus maybe 140. Over unders 5.5. I'm going to take I'll probably do Wild puck line whenever that comes out. But I don't see a line for that yet. I guess there's injuries or something. Back to the 9 o'clock window. Blues, Golden Knights. The Blues are plus 136. Vegas is minus 162. Over under 5.5. Over minus 130. Under plus 110. Blues puck line plus 1.5 is minus 205. Vegas puck line minus 1.5 is plus 172. I'm going to take another money line underdog. I'm going to go with the Blues here at plus 136. I just think that's really valuable for a team that won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. So give me the Blues plus 136 straight up. Toronto, Calgary, last but not least. Toronto's minus 116 favorites. Calgary's minus 102. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 105. Unders minus 115. Toronto minus 1.5 is plus 240. Calgary plus 1.5 is minus 295. I'm going to take the over here. 6.5 at minus 105. I think this is a 4-3 game either side. So give me over 6.5 at minus 105. So there you have it for hockey for today. Now we'll move on and talk about the two teams that lost over the weekend. the Packers and the Bills and what's next for every team. We'll start with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers came out after the game and said that a lot of guys on this team have uncertain futures, including himself. So Aaron Rodgers, MVP frontrunner, you would expect that he's going to win the award. Great season. He's not a free agent until the year 2024. So he has 3 years left on his contract. But rumors are out there that he wants more money. Will the Packers be willing to do it? And don't forget, they spent a first-round pick on Jordan Love. I still think that was the worst pick of the first round last year. Because ultimately, what they could have used is with that first-round pick as a defensive playmaker. There's some guys that were really good defensive rookies that the Packers passed on for Jordan Love. They also passed on some pretty good rookie wide receivers for Jordan Love. And offensive linemen for Jordan Love, but they didn't need help there. But, yeah. Defense, they really could have used like a playmaker defensively with that first-round pick instead of Jordan Love. And to me, that's just incompetence by the Packers. I'm interested to see what happens with this team. I do think Aaron Rodgers will remain a Green Bay Packer. Maybe they rework his contract a little bit and give him more money on the back end of his deal. Or maybe they shorten his deal and give him more money. Maybe he'll be a free agent within the next couple of years instead. Matt LaFleur, I think, will remain head coach. He's been there for 2 years and has gone 12-4 and 13-3 in each of those seasons. So you would expect him to remain the head coach. Mike Patton, solid coordinator, but did not do a good job in the NFC Championship game, giving up 31 points to the Buccaneers. And then their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett's done a good job getting a lot out of Rodgers at this point in his career, and some of those other receivers outside of Devontae Adams like Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Aquemius St. Brown, Robert Tonyan, the tight end that broke out this year, Mercedes Lewis at this point in his career. So the Packers do have holes on their roster. I think they could use another receiver. I'm really still not a fan of Valdez-Scantling and Aquemius St. Brown. They're not legit number 2 guys. And Alec Lazard as well. So they could use another receiver to go with Devontae Adams. Their running backs are good. I like Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and A.J. Dillon. That's a good trio. Maybe they trade Jamal Williams or something, because I like A.J. Dillon. I think he's a keeper. Offensive line, I think that they can use some depth there. Obviously, David Bakhtiari will be coming off the ACL injury that he suffered before the playoffs, which came back to haunt them a little bit in this NFC title game as Rodgers was sacked a couple times by the likes of Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh and those guys in Tampa. They have some nice defensive playmakers like Rashawn Gary, Kevin King, Adrian Amos, the former Bear, Darnell Savage. But I do think that they could use a linebacker, like a Clay Matthews type of linebacker. They haven't had somebody that good in the middle like Clay Matthews in his prime since Clay Matthews in his prime, really. I know they have Preston Smith and Zardarius Smith. Those are 2 solid role players, but they need like a real blue chipper there on the front 7. And Rashawn Gary is someone that had all this potential in Michigan, never really lived up to it. So the Packers, I think, have holes to fill on the roster. And I think that Aaron Rodgers does ultimately return as well as the coaching staff. Bills, great year for them. I can't say that their season was a failure, unlike the team we just talked about, who has an aging quarterback who's still very good in my opinion. But yeah, Josh Allen, the Bills, what a great year. Josh Allen made the leap that he was expected to make. He has to be considered a top 10 quarterback coming into next season. Where they could use some help, their defense quietly underachieved this season. I know their defense was solid at times throughout the year, but they were playing the Jets, they were playing the Dolphins with subpar quarterback play at times. The Patriots, who are not the Patriots anymore, they played those three teams 6 times, so I think that masks some of their defensive flaws. Tre'Davious White's great. I think that their pass rush can use a playmaker, and I think that they can use another guy in the secondary to go with Trey White and Micah Hyde. And then offensive line's better, although they could use some help there. And then they're pretty deep offensively in terms of skilled position guys for Josh Allen. They got Cole Beasley, John Brown, and obviously Stephon Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie, a good wildcard player for them. Deep at running back with Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, tight end Tyler Kroft, and the other kid, Austin Knox. So the Bills, I think, are pretty set, and they should be the AFC East favorites going into next year. Meanwhile, the Packers, as we talked about, going into next year, if they make the necessary improvements, they'll probably be division favorites next year. But if I'm them, I'd be worried about the possibility of the Bears going out and potentially upgrading at quarterback this offseason. If that's the case, they become division favorites. Obviously, the Lions are rebuilding. They're trading away Matt Stafford. And then the Vikings have bounce-back potential, so don't sleep on Minnesota. So I think Green Bay is a tougher road next season than Buffalo, because Buffalo's in an easy division, although an improving division, because Miami potentially a quarterback away, like the Bears, from becoming a real threat in the AFC. But I think that the Bills would still be favorites, although I just don't think that Deshaun Watson would potentially get traded to the Dolphins. And if Watson's a Dolphin, then we'll have a conversation. But yeah, to me the Bills are still favorites for that division going into next season, barring something crazy. Alrighty, today is a very sad day for some, as it is the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Kobe Bryant. It's actually a sad day for the NBA, sad day for a lot of people in Los Angeles, and obviously the family of Kobe Bean Bryant. This was obviously one of the you'll never forget where you were moments in your life when you found out that an NBA great, a Hollywood great in Kobe Bryant had tragically lost his life. It was just sad, and I just remember I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was fake, and then it was real, and it was sad, and then I immediately thought about his wife and his children and how sad I was for them. Vanessa's a great mom. She and Kobe raised their kids well, and obviously Gianna Bryant as well. And obviously Gianna would have been an absolute mega star, and not only in college basketball and perhaps the WNBA as well. And it was just a tragic day, almost a year ago. And obviously ESPN at 2 o'clock is doing a celebration of life for him on The Jump, and rightfully so. They're probably going to have on a lot of Kobe's former teammates, and his peers. And they're doing a 2-hour episode of The Jump, which is nice. And I remember that ceremony they had at the Staples Center. It was right before COVID came. Alicia Keys did a phenomenal job with her performance. And a lot of other celebrities were there as well. Vanessa Bryant had that beautiful speech. And the other 3 daughters were obviously there, and it was an emotional time for them as well. And just from seeing Vanessa's Instagram and pictures, and seeing the 2 younger children, I'm sure Kobe's very proud, and Gianna's very proud of how those 2 younger girls have grown and matured as they're becoming children, like younger, like getting past that toddler stage. And obviously the oldest daughter is almost in college, and Gianna would have been in high school, I think, going into this year. So it's just very sad, and thoughts and prayers to the Bryant family, the Lakers, and the NBA on what is a sad day. And I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of tributes around the sports and media platforms today. And it's only fitting that LeBron went out and had his best game of the season last night against his former hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, on the night before Kobe Bryant's 1 year of his passing. And don't forget that the day before Kobe Bryant passed away, LeBron James had passed him on the all-time scoring list. And 1 year after that day, LeBron goes out and has his best game of the season, and I think solidifying himself as the MVP frontrunner. So it's only fitting that LeBron had that big game yesterday, and it's just sad. And I guess we'll talk about some tributes that the media does tomorrow on the podcast, as well as do NBA Power Rankings and talk about anything else that goes on in the world of sports and pop culture. And last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I alluded to it earlier. I'm going with yet another college basketball total, and I'm going with an over. And I'm going to go with over 124.5 in Butler, UConn as my best bet of the day today. So there you have it. Like I said a couple minutes ago, we'll go over the NBA, college basketball, and NHL games and look ahead to tomorrow's slate on tomorrow's show. NBA Power Rankings, talk about any nice media things that goes on for Kobe Bryant today, and rightfully so. We'll preview tomorrow night's episode of The Masked Dancer Super 6 and in my best bet for you as well. Hope you guys have a fabulous day, everyone.